But I guess like you talked about how you watch Kansai and stuff
Mhm.
now. So did you find any content that you would recommend that's specific to Kansai?
Yeah, well, I mean, most Japanese comedy is done in Kansai, in like Osaka Ben specifically. So pretty much like all of Japanese comedy. So there's tons of content just on YouTube of Osaka Ben. And basically for me, because I'm interested in, authentic Osaka Ben, I'm mainly wanting to listen to things that are unscripted because in general, I think this is true for all language. Things that are scripted are not a good representation of like natural authentic speech because it actually takes a really skilled writer to be able to write a conversation that actually sounds like an actual conversation off the cuff, because off the cuff, people don't speak in perfectly formed sentences and they repeat different things and they stumble, and there's all these different factors that make authentic speech authentic. And also we have this idea of how people speak, I think, in our heads, that like even natives, we have this idea of what like speech sounds like that is actually different than from how people actually talk. So when you go to write a conversation or something, I think you naturally end up writing this idea, this like fake idea you have of what natural speech is. Whereas when you just speak naturally. It's probably actually similar to how, when people first learn how to draw, they have a hard time drawing things because they're not actually looking at something and drawing what they're seeing, but they're like half doing that and half just like drawing the concept that they have in their head. And so that's why there's that technique where if you take a picture and you turn it upside down, you try to draw it upside down, you actually like can do it better than if it's the right side up, because when it's upside down, it like your brain can't view it as just like a symbol. It has to actually look at what is there. So that's like some kind of random tangent. But anyway, yeah. So what I've been listening to on Kansai Ben is kind of like mostly comedians just like talking, having conversations. Like a really good thing that you can watch on YouTube that is Matsumoto Hisoshi no Suberanai Hanashi, which is basically this Japanese TV show. It's also on some of it's on Japanese Netflix, but it's actually this really cool TV show where comedians just take turns telling stories. And the name of the show, Suberanai Hanashi, like I was gonna say what it literally means, but there's this word in Japanese, suberu, that we don't really have in English, that basically means to like say a joke and have it fall flat. It literally means to like slip and fall. So Suberanai Hanashi means like, Hanashi is like story. So you're telling stories that like can't fall flat. And so they'll have like, 15 comedians sitting around this like giant, like what looks like a poker table. And then they have a die, like a 15-sided die. And each side has like one of the comedians' names on it. So they roll the die and that comedian has to like tell a story on this, like right then. That's like, and they're normally like, I don't know, 90 seconds long, and then like has to like get a laugh. And if it doesn't, then you lose. Except I've never actually seen someone lose. So, cause that's also Japanese TV. So everyone's
social pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's laughing no matter what. So it doesn't really mean anything, but it's still kind of like in the intro to the show, they call it like, so I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like, Owarai no Sogo Kakutogi. So they're literally saying it's like, this show is the MMA of comedy. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty funny because it kind of is, in the sense that like, if you're just telling a story, you can use anything, right? But
right.
You don't have any container it has to be in. It's like anything goes. You just have to like talk for 90 seconds and make people laugh. So that's really good for just listening practice in general. But because, this is all recorded in one go, although they practice them so they sound really articulate, it's still, natural, authentic speech. And like 90% of it's Kansai Ben, because like 90% of comedians are from Kansai. And so that's been really good. And also that's like one of the only, if you watch it on Netflix with a VPN, it's one of the only ways I've found to watch Kansai Ben with like exact subtitles. But on YouTube, there's basically just all these.
They have Kansai Ben subtitles?
Well, yeah, because on Japanese TV, generally there's or Japanese Netflix when you use a VPN, generally they have like matching subtitles. And because this show mostly is Kansai Ben, the subtitles match what they're saying. So it's pretty cool. But also on YouTube, there's just these compilations. Like if you find one comedian who you like one comedian I've been listening or watching a lot of is Koyabu. That's like everyone just called him Koyabu. I forget his like first name, Kazutoyo, maybe Koyabu Kazutoyo. You can watch like just like an hour-long compilation of like every story he's told on this show. So it's just like back to back to back. and there's like a ton of those on YouTube for like every comedian who's been on there. So that's like pretty cool. And also Koyabu has this other YouTube channel he does with 3 other YouTubers called like Zakkuri YouTube, and they do like pretty fun stuff on there. Another show that I've been watching, my friend from Osaka told me about, is called Niketsu, which is like another 2 like famous Japanese comedians, Chihara Junya and Kendo Kobayashi, and they're just like talking basically on a stage, like kind of telling jokes and telling stories and stuff like that. So I've been liking like this kind of content where they're just like talking off the cuff and being funny, so it's like entertaining because they're, you know, comedians that are really funny, and yeah, you get like just a really good sample of natural speech. So
I feel like there's something about Kansai Ben where if it's just 2 people talking, it can become really entertaining.
Yeah.
Like I watched this movie the other day where I think it's called like Setotsumi or something.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And it's just 2 guys by the river talking, and it's like a comedy. And the whole movie is like that one shot of them at the river talking.
Yeah, I watched that a while ago. That was pretty cool. I think it's actually based on a manga. But yeah, they're speaking Kansai Ben or Osaka Ben in that movie, huh? But
yeah, like the manga, I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is also just them talking, and it sounds like pretty natural.
Yeah, that's cool. I should rewatch that now that I'm like studying Kansai Ben. Yeah, I know in Kansai there's this idea. I don't really know how enforced it is like in real life, but you know what they say is that in Kansai they expect, whenever you're telling a story, they expect there to be an ochi, which basically means like a punchline. So if you just like tell a story and there's no like giant, like kind of like drop at the end where there's like some sudden unexpected turn that makes it funny and like, you know, redeems the whole story, then they'll like get mad at you apparently. And in Tokyo apparently they don't have that. So I've heard people from Kansai say like, oh, when they're talking to people from Tokyo, it's really boring because they don't have any ochi to their stories. They just tell you random crap that has no entertainment value basically. So
right.
I guess that's why.
I guess they're like natural born stand-up.
yeah, that's like the image. Although of course I've also heard some Kansai people be like, it's like, well, at the end of the day, you know, you can't. We're all just. It's just a population of humans, so only a certain percentage of them can like really be funny. But probably the average is like higher. And I also just think like the culture, like the culture I know values comedy a lot, so that probably naturally like breeds more funny people because everyone like cares about it and like pays attention to it.